After finishing Clair Obscur Expedition 33, we are left with a lot of unanswered questions. One of them being a question that I just can't get out of my head. Who are the writers? There's very little information about them, but whoever they are, they've caused a lot of heartbreak for the Dandre family. In this video, I'll be discussing my theory as to who I think the writers could be. If you haven't finished Clair Obscur Expedition 33, I highly recommend that you go do that and come back to this video when you're finished. Or you could always check out my playthrough on the channel. Now with that being said, let's get into the theory. From what we've gathered, the writers are a separate group of people who may have a similar ability as the painters. Just as the Dandre family can paint a canvas and create its own world, it's safe to assume the writers can write to where those works have their own worlds as well. It's probably safe to assume that every type of artist in the real world has this ability, that their creations can become some sort of reality. So why exactly are the writers targeting the Dandre family? Well, let's take a look at each of the family members, starting with Renoir. During the final boss, Renoir mentions how Alysia was the one who taught him how to paint, how to properly survey the canvas, and the safety protocols with dealing with the medium. This leads me to believe that Renoir wasn't born a painter.
Your mother was the one who saved me when I lost myself in a canvas. She taught me how to safely use our gift, how to soar without flying too close to the sun. We painted hundreds of canvas worlds, pushing the very boundaries of creation. And she never let me forget that every day we spent here has a price.
It's more likely to assume that he was actually a writer. If you explore the Reacher, Maëlle mentions how her papa was always good with words and loved making everything into a parable to teach a lesson.
Another axon. How did it get so large?
She wasn't always this tall, but she's obsessed with reaching the stars, so...
Papa and his parables.
Parables?
He never paints just to paint. Everything has to have layers and layers of meaning and purpose. Everything's a lesson.
The axons were created by Renoir, and as Maëlle mentions, they were a physical representation of what he was trying to say. The Mask Keeper, teaching Verso about being true to oneself, Serene being the love poem to Alysia, and the Reacher, all his hopes for Alysia. There was also one for Clea, but you've seen what happened to it. That axon was to represent all the weight she has on her shoulders. He even has a section in the game called Renoir's Drafts. Alysia is the head of the Painters Guild and clearly takes it seriously, wanting all her children to use this gift, teaching them how to paint and how to use the canvas. We can see memories within the monolith and how she taught them.
Again. Teaching her children to paint, huh?
Since Clea mentions that she is the head of the guild, it makes it clear that she's a very important person in the real world.
She's a grown woman, and she was the head of the Painters' Council. She failed her responsibilities.
Clea, being the eldest and seemingly being the golden child, she seems to be modeled by Alysia to excel in painting and the arts in general. If we take a look at her room, we can see she has sculptures and a heart. Seems like she's able to harness more than just being a paintress, just an overall artist with more capabilities than the rest of the family. Going back to her axon, it's clear Renoir made her axon like it's carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. And maybe there was a reason for that, aside the pressures of being a paintress's daughter, but the fact that maybe Clea is the next generation for whom creates out in the real world, someone who has all the power. Verso, as we know, wanted to be a musician. He had a painter's ability as well, given how the game takes place in his childhood canvas. However, Verso wasn't really interested in painting but wanted to be a musician. From Painted Verso's point of view, he mentions how his family never let him pursue his dreams of music.
What did you used to want?
Music. I loved it. I really miss performing at the concert hall. When the lights dim and the room is hushed and the first notes echo through the chamber, I can just lose myself and feel the music through my fingers every time I play. It feels like my heart's about to break from the beauty of the notes.
And finally, we have Alysia. With her being the youngest, she struggles to fit in with the family, not having the affinity with the painter's ability. Eileen seems to be harsh with her, only allowing one small painting on the wall from her. Our family's artwork, the little one in the corner, is mine. The only one Maman deemed acceptable for the wall. If you unlock the secret room in the manor, you can find a bunch of painted canvases that look similar to the style of Alysia, meaning she was trying to paint or even practice in secret. But why would she do that? If you take a look at Alysia's room, you can see that her room doesn't look like her siblings. Her room is a lot darker and, more importantly, covered in books. She has a whole library, books scattered across her room, and even 2 typewriters on both her desks. There's barely any paintings or anything relating to being a paintress. Alysia seems to be the black sheep of the family, wanting to fit in as a paintress to please her parents, but her heart belongs somewhere else, to be a writer. Clea even mentions that she doesn't like how Alysia cares for Verso's canvas when she herself barely spent any time in there. Alysia was often reading books in her room. Alysia, don't be emotional, you know this is necessary. And spare me the drivel about how much this canvas means to you. I've spent far more times here than you. I painted half this world with Verso. We went on adventures while you sat reading in your room. When we look at the memories in the monolith, we can see Eileen scolding a little girl, seemingly Alysia. This may have been the moment Eileen found out about her interest in writing. And if you find one of the unknown journals in the manor, it says this:
People come and people go. The one who will always be there for you is you. Little one, there's more to life if you can just see how big the sky truly is. Reach out your hand, and it's yours.
Renoir saw potential in Alysia, that if she truly wanted to be more than a paintress, to be more her, she can do it. Pairing this with her Axon, who is built of flammable materials and having a bunch of Neverons trying to tear it down, but it just keeps getting higher and higher, leads me to believe that Renoir never had any ill feelings about her wanting to pursue her dreams, even if it meant not embracing her painter powers. Now let's take a look at the fire. There isn't much to go off except the fact that Verso saves Alysia from dying. Once Maëlle remembers who she actually is, she apologizes to painted Verso, saying it was her fault for trusting the writers.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too. If I'd listened to Maman, if I hadn't trusted the writers, Verso would still be alive and you
Wouldn't exist.
So, was the Dandre family being targeted? Well, I don't think so. When we first meet Clea, she and Alysia decide to hide Verso's canvas away. However, once Alysia steps into the canvas, she gets painted over by Eileen, thus turning into Maëlle. As Alysia is being painted, we can hear Clea say,
At least this will keep you out of trouble until I get back.
Given how it's been a few weeks to months since Renoir and Eileen have entered Verso's canvas, and now Alysia being stuck in there, Clea doesn't give any urgency or worry that her entire family is being exposed. This gives me the impression that the family wasn't really targeted. I really think this was a huge misunderstanding, even more so, possibly an accident. So why would the painters and writers be fighting anyway? Well, let's take a look at the real-life inspiration. Clair Obscur is set in the French, and I'm gonna butcher this, I'm very sorry, Belle Époque era, around 1906. The Belle Époque, or the Beautiful Era, was a period that began at the end of the Franco-Prussian War in 1871. During this time, France's cultural climate, specifically Paris, was where the arts flourished, a golden age of art which included literature, music, theater, and the visual arts. This era was trying to identify itself, which is why there was an explosion of amazing artworks being created. Notably one artist, Pierre-Augustin Renoir, and yes, Renoir and Eileen are inspired by the real-life painter and his wife. Despite the wonderful artwork being created during this time, it's also a period of change for France. There was a lot of social and political tensions during this time, which started a cultural war, with social inequalities and the rise of new ideologies. Both painters and writers were at the top of this era, and they both challenged to establish norms. However, their approaches were different from one another, their experiences and how they viewed the world around them. Painters often focused on the beauty and the aesthetic, while literature was more about human psychology and the social landscape. However, the biggest theme between them was social issues, specifically the class system, the rich and the poor. Now, I can't say who is exactly right or wrong here, since this is all just speculation, but it's pretty obvious that the Dandre family is well off. They're living a lavish lifestyle and possibly have a lot of enemies, people who look at what they have and see how unfair their situation is. Is it possible that the writers are a group of people from a lower class? Could it be that this is where Renoir started and they want to see his family's downfall? Going back to the fire, it seems like it was intended for Alysia, but Verso stepped in to save her. If Alysia was meeting with the writer, I feel like she meets up with them just to learn more about her abilities with writing, or even to fit in somewhere else, to make friends. Maybe a writer who is her age, who has no real idea of the war that is happening between the artists. Maybe this writer gets caught by someone from their family, or their faction, or their class system. Someone who is aware of the war between them and the painters and decided to do something rash by setting the fire in hopes of getting rid of Alysia. Maybe because she was about to be showing something she wasn't supposed to know. Maybe she would expose a weakness about them. All in all, we just don't know exactly who the writers are, but it's clear that Sandfall had bigger ideas as to where the story of Clair Obscur can go. For now, all we can do is just speculate and hope that they have another game in the works to continue this story, because this has been one of the greatest gaming experiences I've had in a long time. Well, that's my little theory on who I think the writers are and how they're possibly connected to all of this. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. There has been a lot of speculation as to who the writers could be, so if you guys have your own theories, please let me know in the comments. I would love to chat about this because this game is honestly the best. This has been my favorite game of this year so far, and I cannot wait if they plan to do more games because I feel like they should. If you guys enjoy theory videos like this, remember to leave a like on this video, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you guys know when I upload more videos like this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!